start this meeting of joint committee meetings of the Sustainability and Environmental Committee, as well as the Eco Dev Committee with Attorney Sean Curran as the chairperson. Thank you, Council Delgado, for being here. And this is a presentation about Wellspring Harvest and the possible having an agriculture overlay. So I am going to turn it over to Fred Rose, who has a presentation ready, and then we can ask questions. Can you all see Fred's screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, great. So take it away, Fred. They can hear you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And thank you, Zeta, for putting this hearing together, and for others for being here. We are, this is an important issue for us at Wellspring Harvest, which is urban greenhouse and Indian orchard. So I'd like to give some overview of the greenhouse and some background, some of the contributions we've made to the neighborhood and city, and then talk about the really important issue of a tax rate for our farm viability, like other farms around the state and urban farms. And so we want to bring a proposal to you for consideration for a revised tax rate. And I should say, we have some other partners here who have been part of the project. Betsy Johnson has been kind of a key part of this process.
And before we start, if I may, Fred, does everyone know what Wellspring Harvest is?
I was going to
Counselors, okay. All right, then don't
that
ask
later.
any questions now. He's gonna tell you. Go ahead.
Go through the slides. Yeah, so Wellspring Harvest is a 15,000 square foot hydroponic greenhouse. It's located in the Indian Orchard neighborhood of the city. Opened in 2018. It's the largest urban greenhouse in the state. And it's built on an old brownfield site, part of the old Chapman Valve site, Indian Orchard. It was a blighted piece of property that we purchased from the Springfield Redevelopment Authority. And so this is the greenhouse under construction on that site. It's also part of this Indian Orchard Urban Renewal Plan and meets many of the goals of the plan. Reusing vacant land and eliminating blight. We've increased economic activity by creating jobs and employment in the neighborhood. We've brought stimulating private investment was a major goal. We brought over $1.5 million of investment to the site, and really promoting sustainable development by creating an urban farm in the city, turning a brownfield site into a green development. The plan also, the urban renewal plan also called for rezoning for use, and so that is appropriate in what we're requesting here, and also talked about investment in infrastructure. And so the city, we have put in sewer, water, electricity, and heat to the site, so gas. So we did significant infrastructure developments. So the greenhouse grows hydroponic lettuce and basil. In 2024, we sold $387,000 worth of produce. And you can see it's grown hydroponically, so that picture shows that it's a water-based development system of production. So these are the 5 varieties of lettuce that we produce. We sell to stores, to Big Y stores around the region, and to the warehouse and other stores, colleges, Bay State Hospital and others, and also through some food hubs we distribute around in Worcester and Boston as well. So Wellspring Harvest is a worker cooperative, like all the companies that Wellspring develops. We have 7 employees, all who live in Springfield, and and 4 of them are worker owners. So we support worker ownership because it's managed by the people who work there. Everybody's involved in governing the co-op, and it's also people sharing the profit. So we say it's job creation and wealth creation. in the city. So 61A is the tax rate established for farms in the state. It is a lower tax rate that reflects the fact that agriculture is a low income business. And so, but a really primary sector for the state. So the state has established this tax rate in order to support agriculture. And this is a quote from the Mass Farm Valuation Advisory Commission, which is the commission that sets the 61A rate every year. And it says that in valuing land for agriculture, 61A, under 61A, that the Board of Assessors has to only consider the value of the land for agricultural uses. And so that reflects the fact that agricultural uses, again, are lower income, but an important sector. The problem is in the state of Massachusetts, the Constitution says that a farm has to have 5 acres to be considered a farm and to apply for 61A. So 61A does not apply to us. We have a 1.7 acre farm. So without 61A, farms would not be viable. And that is the problem for Wellspring Harvest. So the average acre of farm in the state earns $7,800 of revenue, and our tax rate is $10,800 per acre. So we have a tax rate that would be completely unsustainable for any farm in the state. And we don't know any farm that's paying a rate like that. It would not be viable for agriculture. So this is our current tax bill is $18,000 plus a year. Under 61A, we would be paying 15% of our tax rate. So that would be the agricultural rate for this site. So cities across the country are supporting urban agriculture with special zoning and tax rates for many reasons, for providing access to healthy food like Wellspring Harvest does, reclaiming abandoned sites like we've done in Indian Orchard, promoting job creation, the work that we've been doing, improving life in the neighborhood, and promoting education about farming and health. All things that Wellspring Harvest is involved with. So those are real motivations for cities around the country to support urban agriculture. And there are hundreds of examples of cities that have developed special zoning districts and overlay districts to support urban agriculture. Many or most of them include adjusted tax rates. So these are some of the big cities: Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, New York, Washington, D.C., but also many smaller cities are doing the same thing. One example, Washington, D.C. has a 90% tax reduction to support agriculture. So cities that are doing this recognize that the tax rate is a significant factor. And so because of that, we want to bring this proposal to your attention, and we're asking whether there could be action on this to create an agricultural overlay district for the Wellspring Harvest site. Could be applied more broadly to the Indian Orchard Urban Renewal site, which includes these 17 acres that are next to the greenhouse, the part of the bigger renewal site, but to create a tax rate equivalent to 61A for the greenhouse, which, as I've said, is really critical for the viability of us as an urban farm.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fred. So at this time, I do want to acknowledge, I want to figure out how to make this bigger.
Tracy's here now.
I acknowledge Councilor Whitfield also joined us. And with that presentation, in the room here is Betsy Johnson from the Metro.
Yeah, but also on the
And,
Wellspring Harvest Board.
Wellspring Harvest Board. We have Vern MacArthur from Springfield Climate Justice Coalition, among other things. We have Stephen Howard, our faithful neighbor and resident, and Emily Kawano and Dave O'Leary is here in the room. Councilors, do you guys have any comments or any questions? And I know Councilor Curran, he's the chair of the Echo Dev Committee, and he's also joint chairing this meeting with me.
So I just wanted to mention that I am on the Wellsprings board, kinda. I do love Wellsprings, but my question is, what, do you have the steps to creating, this overlay district, agriculture overlay district? I don't know if I missed that part.
Yeah, I think it's a well-worn, planning, process. I mean, cities have the ability to create overlay districts. The city of Springfield has created overlay districts in the past, not for agriculture, but for other kinds of development. So I think the city knows how to do this. So to do it for, the greenhouse, I mean, I'm sure
It
there's.
was, it was done for the greenhouse, or,
No, it wasn't done for the greenhouse. What he said is that the city has done overlay districts in the past. So I imagine they would know how to do something like this. And I think the first thing we need to do is probably just agree to do it, right? And then the next step would be to probably have the city use their technical work to get it done.
well, I think that we can't agree until we have more information. So I would suggest reaching out to, Phil Droney, and I'm not sure who else, maybe the law department, to figure out if we can create this, agriculture overlay district. I
I'll
would,
just-
are they-
Yeah, I've had conversations with, Timothy Sheehan.
Jim
Oh.
Sheehan.
Yeah, Tim Sheehan, who has recognized that this is something the city could do.
so
Yeah.
I would reach out to Tim and Phil, just to get the steps, because while the city's done it, I haven't. And figure out what the steps are to get an agricultural overlay district created, and
Mhm.
then go from there.
All right, and I think something that, I know Fred mentioned it, but I think that needs to be highlighted. Of course, this is in my neighborhood. I used to be on the board of Wellspring, Cooperative, and Harvest, and I always help them out. But that site where they're at is a site that is not necessarily, able to be built on because of what was there previously. So this, like, Fred said, took it off the blighted property list, and now is a thriving, I would say, farm, right? And then there are another 16 acres behind there that I think we could do something with, and that they're planning on doing something with, hoping that we could. So
Who owns the 16 acres behind, though? Is it city owned? Is it Wellspring?
City
Harvest?
owned.
City owned?
Yeah,
Okay,
Mhm.
and is it conservation land or not?
no, it's the contaminated land. It's still contaminated.
But we
Like-
can't get
Yeah.
brownfields, funding, maybe possibly from mass development. They have a lot of brownfield,
In fact,
Right.
there has been.
The
Mhm.
city, cites, a brownfield assessment based on Wellspring's interest in the site, and then found that there was some contamination. They got $5 million from the EPA this year to do a brownfield cleanup. And
Did
again,
they receive the money from EPA or just
Yeah, that is a question.
Because,
yeah,
That's a whole separate thing, yeah.
I'm gonna ask Tim about that.
Yeah.
in theory, they got 5 years. So they were
It's in the mail.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have any idea of, have you been involved with any of the overlay district processes in the city prior to this?
I haven't put together an overlay district, well, first off, I just want to say thank you for the proposal. I've learned something today about Wellspring. And I agree with Tracy. We would have to go through the steps. I'm not sure if you'd have to go through planning, but I think maybe we could meet with Tim Sheehan and maybe the assessor, as well as Phil Dromey, and we can get to you the proper steps in which you can move this proposal. Absolutely, we want to keep this viable, and I think this would help.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Like Counselor Curran, definitely learned something and would love to take a tour at some point if you guys are doing tours just to see it.
Anytime.
I'm more of a like see it, touch it, smell it type of person, so I can understand something better. And didn't realize the whole 5-acre thing, especially with the amount of urban farms or urban agriculture popping up. I'm surprised that there's not something, that allows for smaller sites within urban areas. But with that being said, I don't know if I missed some of the questions that I have. How big is
I
your
wasn't
site?
finished yet.
Oh,
before
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Counselor.
I just have one more thing. I think it is important to involve Phil Drummond because it's a zone change. And so, or redrawing the zoning district. So he would, while Tim Sheehan could say that, we need to talk to someone who really knows about the zoning and everything of
Mhm.
this. So I think both of them would be important to have at a meeting. And please, any information or any steps being taken, I do want to be included on this process.
So just to say, the idea of an overlay district is it overlays the existing zoning. So the advantage and the reason why it's helpful and it's flexible is you don't need to change the zoning or the underlying zoning. It can be a site-specific zoning regulation. So it does, you certainly need to involve those folks, but just to say it doesn't involve a long process of changing the zoning, which this is a commercial industrial zoning zone site. But
And
it would overlay that.
Right. And I think our next meeting, which we will have maybe in a couple of weeks, is with Phil Dromey and the planning team, like Counselor Curran said.
So
So.
we also need assessing there because we've actually already talked to assessing
Patrick,
and
yeah.
already talked to Phil, and they went like this. They
Right,
said it's
so-
the other person's, and Tim has said, oh, well, I'll sort out getting these
So
two
we'll invite all
together.
of them.
Yeah.
So we'll invite
No.
all of them. Okay, so that'll be our next meeting. And Counselor Whitfield, are you good? Okay, Counselor Delgado?
All right, my turn now. I know we
Yes,
went
sir.
from Tracy to Sean to, all right. I just had a question. How big is your site?
So it's a 1.7 acre site. The greenhouse itself is a 1/4 acre of that.
Okay. Just wanted to learn more about that piece of property. I lived in Indian Orchard for some time. My mom still lives in Indian Orchard, so I know a lot of work has been done over the last, couple decades within some of those sites and abandoned buildings that were there before. And correct me if I'm wrong, are you guys a for-profit or nonprofit organization? I'm assuming a nonprofit.
No, they're for profit.
Oh, you're for-profit.
It's a
Okay.
business. It's a business. It's a co-op business.
In fact,
Co-op.
that is the answer to why almost all of the other urban agriculture entities in the state are nonprofits. And like Gardening the Community, and then end up paying a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes, rather than having to pay regular property tax. As at this point, we really only know of one other entity, for-profit urban agriculture site in the state, which is why, well, first of all, the Farm Bureau is trying to get the Massachusetts Constitution to change the definition of a farm to not have this 5, but that's at a minimum a 4-year process
Mhm.
in terms of the legislature process. So that's why we've had to look at things that might not, that are a long shot in terms of the things the legislature is concerned about. So, versus, another proposal could be that even though it's for profit, it's treated like like gardening the community, and they come up with a pilot, come up with a payment in lieu of taxes kind of process as well. But that's,
And Betsy, I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you
Yeah.
to come through the chair, if you
okay,
would, please.
yes, okay.
Thank you, but thank you for that information. Go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, that was so no, that's good information there. Yeah, so I echo the sentiments of my colleagues in terms of learning this process and what it moves forward. Happy to, be another person to do some research and join you guys in this process, because this sounds interesting, especially with the history that Springfield has had, at one point having 16 acres be farmland, and we've gone from that to residential. So the fact that we still have spaces in the city that is still doing that, especially in today's time, it's definitely something to try to support. So, but I need to learn more about this process as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, excuse me.
Counselor. And I think what I wanted to do is I wanted to maybe schedule a time for a tour of the greenhouse for the counselors and anyone else who might be interested, maybe the city department heads. And then after that tour, we'll have another meeting to continue this process. Does that sound something like it's doable?
That'd be great.
Okay, good. Perfect. So I think we're gonna have a short meeting, because you know how I do. Oh, wait a minute, maybe not, because Mr. Howard just raised his hand.
Uh-oh.
No, sir.
So our next steps is that we're gonna have a tour, and then we'll schedule another meeting. I think, Attorney Curran, I'll get to you, and then go ahead, Mr. Howard.
Well, let the attorney go before I go.
Okay, go ahead, Sean. He said you can go first. He wants the rest of the
No.
meeting.
No, I'm just listening in. I don't have any comments.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Afternoon, everyone. Stephen Howard, McKnight neighborhood. Several things were said that kind of raised some antennas.
Mhm.
But in response to Councilor Delgado's question about acreage, can you re-explain what you said about the size plus what a legal farm size is, so he can get a better understanding in case he missed it?
So go ahead, Fred.
So a farm by the Constitution, to be defined as a farm, needs to be 5 acres. Wellspring had 1.7 acres on their site. That
Thank you, Madam Chair, again, and thank you for the response. Now, when I heard contaminated and the 16 acres that you're talking about, is that adjacent to the, okay. So if that's contaminated, what kind of condition is the property that you're using right now? Has that contaminated been addressed?
So there has been some remediation there, and this is hydroponic, so they use water to grow their
As opposed to
lettuce and the
land.
basil, so it's not in the ground.
Okay,
It's like raised beds. When you go to the tour, you'll see, it's an amazing property. But if I may, Mr. Howard, so how much are you growing? How many acres would you say, if you had to grow that on the ground, how many acres would that be?
That's the 1,500.
you mean, what would it be? It's a very intensive growing
Concentrated,
process.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah, it's concentrated.
know what the equivalent in
Cause
terms of
that's
acres
what I
is,
was
but-
thinking is, there could potentially be 5 acres growing happening.
Yeah.
But it's just not that space.
Very condensed.
It's condensed, and they grow like every 3 weeks, months, that they have a harvest. You know what I mean? But I don't want to get into that, because you're right, it would be convoluted. Go ahead, Mr. Howard.
and because it's the greenhouse, you can actually grow things all year round.
Right, exactly.
So you're talking about good utilization of the land.
Mhm.
So now, with the kind of reduction that I'm seeing in taxes, right? I think you said something like 16%, you'd be paying 16% if the legislation was enacted. So now you're talking about 16% compared to what? I think you said 80 something,
18,000.
18,000?
Yeah.
So that's a substantial savings, and that's a good reason for investment. Now, the money that the millions of dollars that you've been allocated to address the contamination, is that money in the bank or
That's the
is that
city,
supposed
the
to be
city
coming?
has that.
That's
The
totally
city
different.
sent money to the city, not to Wellspring.
Right.
That's different.
So
That's for the other parcels.
Oh, so that's, okay, just for clarification. All right, I'll end there. I have more questions, but I'll leave it right here.
Oh, he was good
Thank you,
today.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
Get
Howard.
you to, we're gonna get you to see the site.
All right, great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have you guys schedule a time to have a tour. I would like it maybe possibly within the next 2 weeks, if possible. And then after that, we'll schedule a meeting, another meeting of these two committees. And invite, planning, the assessors and Tim Sheehan. Does that sound good? Yes, Mr.
You get a free sample of lettuce if you go on the tour.
Probably could, you never know. And you could buy your lettuce from Wellspring Harvest at Big Y. Sir,
Just wondering, is there a particular time that might be good for a tour? When you think?
I don't know. What would be a good time for a tour? I know Council Delgado is very interested. Council Delgado, what's a good time for you?
I would say around this time, lunchtime,
Lunchtime? Okay, so we'll
if
do.
possible.
Well, then we have to have lunch. We have to have a salad.
Yeah, there you go.
I would say at lunchtime or after, after 5 type of thing, for me at
Okay.
least.
Okay, and then we can also do it in the weekend if we needed to.
That as well.
Okay, all right, good. So we'll schedule the meeting and then we'll see how many people can make it. And then we'll schedule the tour rather, and then we'll schedule another meeting. Okay, does that sound good? Any other questions or comments from anyone? Sir?
Yeah, it just seemed to me there were 2 questions here. One was, does the council support the concept of this being an urban farm
Mhm.
tax reduction? The second question
Don't
is,
talk, come in a meeting.
will the process work in getting there?
Right, right. So, and I don't know that we can answer that question right now. It sounds like possibly we have 1, 2, 3 counselors here who may be supportive. I don't know about the rest of them. But I think having the tour happen and maybe getting more interest and maybe even doing that presentation at the tour, to let them know what we're looking for, then we might have some more support or see if we don't have any support. And then having the meeting with Tim and Phil and Patrick Greenhall, I think would give us some more answers on that. Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much.